is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
I have to return some videotapes. I have to return some videotapes. To return some videotapes. To return some videotapes. To return some videotapes.
Hey, welcome back to Strange Glow Video. My name is Justin. With me, as always, is my co-host, Alec. And you can see his kitties. A kitty.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll see them both by the end. Plenty. He's cleaning himself.
It's like, you guys are boring. I'm going to clean myself. Clean myself of the filth you spew from your mouths.
Pretty much. Tonight we're talking Ninja Turtles.
The classic 1990 film.
Which I don't think we've ever even talked about the original on our channel.
I mean, we've never dedicated time to it. I think we've probably passively talked about it here and there, but it's a damn fine film. Holds up really well. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, so there's also the fact, I don't know if, did you watch this on VHS? What did you watch it on?
I watched digital.
So you didn't watch the Glorious Pizza Hut commercial before, like I did.
No, but that thing's burned in my head. I play right field. It's important to know. You got to know how to catch. You got to know how to throw. That's why I play out in right field where the dandelions grow. Yeah, I'll never forget that. I'll know it till I die. Yep.
Well, that's not the whole song, but yeah.
That's the most important part of it.
Well, there's the middle part where, and a baseball falls into my glove.
Yeah.
Like slow part there in the middle.
Yeah. So, obviously, this is a classic film. Ninja Turtles, man, they just fucking blew up when this came out, you know? And
yeah,
they were already...
I wasn't there, but I feel like the cartoon was definitely making waves.
So the cartoon was making waves. You know, the comic books were very dark originally, and very much different in the style and animation as it started off. You know, right? You're seeing a lot of the 40th anniversary stuff for Ninja Turtles this year.
Yeah.
On shelves right now. Hell, I was in Target earlier today and I saw some of the new original style drawings by Playmates, which I think, I think some other toy companies have had cracks at that same style design before, the Turtles, but it's interesting to see Playmates take on those.
Didn't Playmates did the original figures, didn't they?
Yeah. So, but I'm talking about the original, not the re-released figures, but I'm talking about like the original drawing versions of them.
Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah,
So,
NECA or somebody put out some drawing figure versions at one point too, I think.
Yeah, NECA's done those several times, and so many people have the Ninja Turtles toy license. It's kind of very convoluted at this point, which is the main reason I don't collect Ninja Turtles toys, because it's insane.
I'd be okay just collecting like the first two movies, like a line based on the first two movies. That's all I need.
Yeah, I mean, if NECA made it really easy to get just the first two movies to collect, because the movie Star Turtles were really more or less based on Ninja Turtles 2 looks, which at the time as a kid, I thought, oh man, these look just like they do in the movie. And, they're like rubber. They came with the mutagen cans, and then they had some of the dots and things on there. But looking at the re-releases, I was like, okay, they look pretty good for a kid's toy.
What I appreciated is how each one of them was slightly different colored of green, the toy line.
Yeah. So interesting fact. So, we're huge fans of the whole Saturday Night Live era of films that came in the early 90s following this. So did you know that director Steve Barron also directed the Coneheads movie?
I did not.
I was, just kind of curious about his stuff, because I'm like, I never really hear anyone talk about the director of this movie. So he did a fair amount of music videos. So he did some real classic music videos. Take on Me by Aha.
Oh, okay. That's like top notch. That's like top 10 videos of the 80s right there.
Yeah, he did a ton of Bryan Adams stuff back then.
Eh,
Summer of '69, I think, is probably the big one there. Culture Club, David Bowie, he did a couple of videos for. I mean, his list of Billie Jean for Michael Jackson, like, so he's really well known for the music video world in the '80s, and then he hasn't done a lot of features, honestly. And when I say that, he's directed 8 features. So
mm.
nothing too insane, but either way, it's still a shitload of work to direct an entire feature. So the fact that he's done 8,
It's
still
more,
impressive.
8 more movies than I've directed.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't mean like that to disparage him at all. I just mean that, like, some people are like direct a movie every couple of years, and it looks like he's never really stuck to one thing, which I find impressive.
That's crazy. After Ninja Turtles, they weren't like hounding him with jobs. Maybe they were, and he just was like, eh.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised they didn't bring him back for Ninja Turtles 2, as well as that one did. Because tonally, the second one is pretty similar. It's a little goofy in moments, but most of the cast came back, obviously.
It does feel more like the cartoon than the first movie. The first movie just feels darker, like borderline Batman '89 dark. Like, you know what I mean? In a
Yes.
great way.
Uh-huh. And the music for this, the fact that the music was so well incorporated into this movie, to me, makes him the perfect director, knowing how he's directed all these music videos.
Yeah.
And I think another thing that really stands out to me, and I'm not super familiar with the making of this movie, which I'd like to be, but there's just not as much material available that I'm aware of at this point. But like, did they record all the turtles' voices and then have the puppeteers act them out? Because their heads were robotic in some regards.
I feel like in this at this day and age, that might be how they would do it. But back then, probably not.
You
They
think
would
they did that?
probably have just the actors.
Do the ADR for it after the fact?
Yeah.
Okay. Either way, the sound mix on there was pretty damn impressive. There's only 1 or 2 spots that I thought it was a little off, but not much. But even just the reverb when they're down in the sewer having their conversation about, not having them. Corey Feldman talking to Michelangelo while waiting on the pizza.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that conversation was, to me, looking back on it, this is the first time I was thinking, huh, this is someone trying to have like an adult conversation as they're growing up and having new feelings and existentialism and all that kind of stuff. Like, oh shit, Shredder's going to
Mhm.
not be around someday. And Michelangelo just being like, pizza dude's got 30 seconds. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about this pizza, bro. Like,
Yeah.
like it kind of comes full circle when at the end they're all like hovering and meditating and he comes through the blue flame and shit. Like they've come full circle there.
Yeah, I think they do an interesting job. So this movie does a lot of foreshadowing early on in it, right? Even just through Splinters talking, I won't always be there, trying to help Raph with his anger. It's
I
very
was like,
well
wow,
it's very well written when you think about like how this movie's presented.
yeah, this mutated rat said more meaningful words to Raphael in this movie than my father ever said to me. So
Yeah, well, that's one way to look at it.
that's just a fact.
Yeah.
I'm like envious. I'm like, these goddamn turtles living in the sewer with their perfect father. Fuck these guys. I'm jealous.
When even the speech about the fatherly figures, all fathers care for their sons.
Yeah.
So I had the soundtrack to this as a kid on cassette, it was awesome. Love playing the songs from this. And this soundtrack still holds up to this day. And
yeah.
I love the score of this too.
The score is iconic as hell, and not a lot of people talk about it. It's burned into my skull too, and it just works so well.
Yes. The music in Turtles 1 and Turtles 2 is just phenomenal. And the score, same guy did the score for each of these films, the first 2. I don't know who did 3 because 3 I remember being excited to see when it came out, but it just wasn't one of those things that, like, I don't rewatch that one as much. It's just kind of eh.
I don't even rewatch 2 as much. I think 2 is a significant drop in quality too, but I understand why other people like it. It's the same thing as the Ghostbusters 2. You know,
Yeah, there's a ton of people that have the nostalgia of seeing that in theaters, and so I've got a CD copy of the original soundtrack here.
you're still young enough when the second one comes out, also that you're not realizing, oh, this is a dip.
No, but the fact that they had a unique way of bringing Shredder back, I thought that was fun. They kind of upped the ante with having some other mutants in there.
Toka and Razar are definitely good. The Ooze is good. What's his face? Their sidekick guy. I hate him in this movie. That movie.
Tatsu.
Not Tatsu. The Turtles guy.
Oh, in the second movie,
What's his fucking name? I can't remember it.
let me tell you, because what was his name? Because he actually played a
Kino.
Yeah, Ernie Reyes Jr. So he actually performed as Donatello in the suit in the original movie.
I just hate his character. I'm not saying
Yeah.
the guy did a bad job or anything, because
Yeah.
that's fine. I like Donatello's my favorite character in the first movie, even. But his character, he's like a fucking lame ass incel.
Yeah, I mean, in Turtles 2, he plays Kino, which is interesting that he did the martial arts stunt double for Donatello. So that makes sense. So there's a ton of performers to actually pull off those performances for the original movie.
Yeah.
And then he was typecast in a ton of movies.
Checks out.
So they're like, oh, we got to have this guy do some more martial arts stuff.
Well, he probably knows it's his specialty, so he goes out for those roles too, and then just got those roles. So
Yeah, I would imagine so. Let's see.
But Judith Hogue is great in this first one. She's I watched her recently. She's in Halloween Town as the mother.
Yeah, she's really great as April. And it's one of those things as a kid, like I never noticed the difference. You know, you're just like, huh.
Yeah.
Like in the back of your mind, she looks different, but you're just like can't pinpoint it. And I think it was one of those things where she just wasn't available for the second film.
Yeah.
Had a much like Back to the Future, like, oh, we got to recast somebody because they're busy doing something else due to the timing of this movie. And you're like, okay.
I think Back to the Future was, there was some weird personal shit going down, like a death or something.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and Judith Hogue's actually been very active and involved in the Comic-Con scene and everything else. And she was a big fan of actually doing her character for NECA. You know, she like really helped sell that figure when they did the April O'Neil figure for that line.
I mean, wouldn't you, if it's a dope ass figure of yourself from like 30 years ago?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty badass. You know, to finally get that kind of a high quality figure.
Mm-hmm.
She has done so much TV, and like it's crazy.
Yeah. And then we have Elias Koteas as Casey Jones.
Uh-huh.
And
now that to me, that's the biggest crime that Ninja Turtles 2 does, is they leave him out and put Kino in instead. And I'm like, no. And then in Turtles 3, they're just like, oh, we're gonna ignore Kino ever happened and then have Casey Jones back. And you're like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. But that's funny. I just like to think of him and James Spader going to get tattoos and then licking each other's tattoos and having sex in a car.
Yeah, but it's definitely not the Ninja Turtles movie. But
no, but it may as well have been.
I mean, wasn't far removed from that.
I was like 6 years off, maybe.
Yeah, closer to the Turtles 3 time.
Let's see. So this movie, you know, it's really depressing.
What's that?
I want pizza every time I watch this movie, and I don't ever anticipate that beforehand. It waits.
Oh.
It's till I get about 20 minutes into this movie, and I'm like, fuck.
Now, see, the first movie, they have the pizza obsession, but in Ninja Turtles 2, they really go out of their way to commercialize it. Like in this one, it felt like the pizza was a side part of the story, but it wasn't like over the top. Like this one, I don't get the pizza cravings obnoxiously bad. It's the second one where I feel like I'm watching a Pizza Hut commercial the whole time. And you're like, Jesus Christ, like I need pizza now, because it's like they show you like these delicious looking pizzas. The lighting's good. It's not in the sewer. They have this awesome pizza shop that everyone's talking about. It's like really, really sells it.
That pizza delivery, and then it's slicing up with the swords.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I would take that slice right now off of Splinter's head and eat it. I don't care if there's his rat furs up in that bitch.
Yeah.
I want to eat that slice of cheese pizza or whatever else is on it. It looks delicious.
Yeah.
And then There's a couple more moments. There's the frozen pizza, and then there's kind of like the pizza near the end that has the. Do you like your pizza with penicillin on it?
Yeah. I had
I
some
like
deep
that
dish
stuff.
down here the other day. Yeah, you like penicillin on your pizza? Let's talk just the whole story arc here, right? So they really set up this brotherly love, but like Raph is this outsider, right? So that we really first get the picture of that when he gets pissed off after he loses his eye, and he's still pissed, so pissed off when he gets home that he's like, fuck dinner, I'm going to the movies.
Yeah,
And
they're like
then,
opposite spectrums. Like all of the other brothers are kind of just like well adjusted and just like fine, and he's kind of like having a real difficult time with everything, can't adjust like them. And obviously Splinter sees that, and that's a very interesting conversation they have there. And he's comforting him and whatnot.
yeah.
But
But let's talk some scenes though, because he goes and apparently he sees, what is that, critters that's showing on the marquee in the background. And then obviously that's a very similar shot coming out of that theater is where Stay Puft walks down in Ghostbusters.
yes.
And then obviously you're right by Central Park, right near Dana's apartment building. Obviously we're Ghostbusters nerds over here. So seeing that every time just makes me smile. It's just like in some like weird, bizarre, like part in your head, you're like, this could be the same universe. Don't know. It just feels like right because it's like the same around the same time when this is all shot. It's got the same kind of vibes for that. It just really it feels like a New York movie just as much as Ghostbusters does.
Well, that's the thing. I was watching. I watched a couple movies this week. Something else was reminding me, like just 80s New York is like a different thing. 80s New York in movies, the way it's portrayed, just looks perfect.
80s New York in the movies was always a character. Think Trading Places.
I think
Right.
Trading Places, Ghostbusters. Like there was something else I watched the other day, Little Shop of Horrors. Even though it's not, it was mostly staged. They didn't like actually shoot in New York or anything. But
Yeah, but I think you see like the graininess of those wide shots that are like big open scenes, big sky views, like when we think about how Turtles opens and we see like Manhattan Island shown off there. You know, they don't even discuss like what borough they're in or how the hell they get around, but you know, you just assume they're in Manhattan, obviously based off of the movie theater and everything else.
yeah,
So, and then like Shredder's lair looks like it's off Manhattan because it's not off the island. You kind of see the water across the street. It's at this abandoned.
here's the thing: it is off of its own little island, and I looked into it because I was debating if we had time last time we were in New York to go there
Oh, okay.
because
Nice.
people do go there and have seen it, I guess. But that's very interesting. And you mentioned the Central Park thing where I recreated that when we went the first time to New York City.
Yeah, you did. That's a little bit more of a fall than it looks.
Yeah. Oh, but I don't mean the Ghostbusters thing. I meant the raft going.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, raft tripping them there, and then they get down into that park area, right? Because that's a little bit of a drop, so it does feel like you're lower down there. And I don't know if you can kind of see the wall kind of in the background in some of those shots. It seems like,
Yeah.
but it really feels like you're in New York with all that going on. And then some of the lines there, like I still quote that. Like I hate punkers, especially bald ones with green makeup.
Yeah.
Like those
Cricket?
lines.
Nobody understands cricket. You got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
Yeah. Exactly. It's so good there. And like
yeah,
the other two guys get away, but that's such a perfect introduction to Casey Jones, right? Where you get this whole like thing where they're fighting, you know, because Casey Jones really is kind of an anti-hero there. Like he partners with the Turtles, and depends on which iteration you're watching, but he's basically just a vigilante. So he has an interesting character in there. Now the only thing is they only show him wearing the mask, like right kind of when we first see him.
yeah.
And then I guess maybe he has it on when he shows up to help him at the at April's flea market or antique shop or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So, but that's still so iconic because they nailed that look. Like it really looks so good.
No, it's perfect. It's a great mask. They recreated it at one point too, and I wanted to get one, but I didn't.
Yeah, I think NECA did that as well. So
Yeah.
NECA's actually done a pretty good job with the toy line there and like the props and everything else. But you know, it's just a matter of throwing the budget towards that kind of stuff. And like I said, collecting as much stuff as we do, it's hard to find the space to add anything turtles at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. I have some. I don't even know if I have any Ninja Turtles toys, but I guess I do. I have one of those big ones from Playmates, like this
Okay,
tall
yeah.
Raphael, and it is one of the vintage ones.
The
And I
only
got the tapes.
The only Ninja Turtle toy I have right now, and it's not even a vintage, it's a replica of the little turtle, glow-in-the-dark turtle that came in the ooze canisters, and someone was making like a jumbo glow-in-the-dark version of that they basically enlarged and were resin casting. And so I've got one of those because that was to get a giant one of those that's the size of like a real turtle kind of shown in the movie was still cheaper than buying a vintage one. Right? If you thought the companion ghosts for real Ghostbusters toys were expensive, you try to find one of those glow in the dark Ninja Turtles, the pre-mutated turtle that came in the ooze canisters, like those are easily $30 to $50 depending on the condition and everything else. And I haven't checked on those in a minute, so
checks out. I got that. Like I got all 3 movies, and I have two of the Burger King tapes that they put out, and then Coming Out of Their Shells tour tape.
Yeah, I remember going to the Coming Out of Their Shells tour. That was at Kemper Arena in Kansas City. I went with a bunch of friends, and of course, they sold us all like little ninja swords and stuff. Same kind of stuff you'd get like at a Halloween shop at the time back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember I got like the same brand of sword in a different color at a Halloween shop a couple of years later. So I had 2 of them. Yeah. But man, this movie really nailed the feel of Turtles. It's a whole vibe. And
it is. I love that whole scene at the flea market. It's a perfect balance of actual ass whooping and comedy.
Yeah.
And the sound effects too.
As a kid, I saw this in theaters. Dad took me to see it in theaters. And there's a few things that have stood with me from that. So when the TV spots started showing up, right? They're showing it all the time when I was watching Real Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles, a cartoon, and watching all that as a kid. And obviously they were showing the TV spots. And so there's like a scene where like 2 turtles smash their shells into each other on the guy. And I remember like Mom was in the room and I was like, oh, they're butt sniffers or something. And I remember Mom getting mad at me because I was like a 4-year-old calling people butt sniffers. But I'm like, fucking hilarious. Just one of those things that sticks with you. The other thing, which just goes back to like lifelong childhood trauma. Obviously this is the biggest movie of the weekend. And so I saw it at the Cinema 8 in Olathe. Dad took me. I had to take a leak at one point in time during the movie. So I got up to take a leak. He wouldn't go with me. He just told me to go while he stayed in the theater. And I went and did that. And I went back into the wrong theater, another theater that was playing Turtles that had started at a different time. And so like I kind of panicked when I went in there because I couldn't find him. And then eventually he came and found me. So yeah, that was just one of those things like, who the fuck just sends their kid to go to the bathroom? I'm lucky I fucking came back.
Wild.
Yeah. Wild times in the 1990, I guess. I was going to say in the 80s, but yeah, shit was wild.
Yeah. I have lots of weird memories of movies and Dad taking me to the movies.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, man. You go and see these movies and they stick with you. So this movie it just holds up so well. Like I could watch this one all the time.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I loved the Ninja Turtles as a kid, right? I love the show, the cartoon, the toys. Like they had a fucking excellent toy line. Like Playmates knocked that out of the park. They always had something fun, unique, so many different vehicles. The one thing I always wanted but never had as a kid was that turtle blimp. That thing was fucking amazing.
Yeah. Man, that's the thing about Turtles. There's just too much to actually collect shit. It's just it's overwhelming to even think about.
Yeah, I don't even know like where to start. Like a buddy of mine, PJ, collects a fair amount of stuff, and like he's gone back and collecting like original release on card. But I mean, even though that line was such a big line and it went on for years, like how do you even, that's insane.
That's what I'm saying. That line itself even if that's the only thing you're collecting, that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, if you think even the crossovers they did back in the day, it was like, okay, you had the first wave of classic turtles. Those are awesome. I remember the first turtle I ever got out of that wave was Leonardo. I was able to open him on Christmas Eve, like back when we could open one item on Christmas Eve just to get us to shut the fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they let me open something that would keep me occupied for a while. And it did. So that was one of the items I opened that year was Leonardo, and then got other figures from that.
Yeah, I remember one year getting on the Christmas Eve, I opened up Star Wars action figure, and it was Princess Leia. And I was like, like had mixed feelings on that. I was like sick, but also give me somebody with a lightsaber. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. The whole fucking point of like Star Wars is lightsabers as a kid. You're just like, what? This motherfucker didn't even have a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like everyone should have just came with one. Like I don't care if they needed one or not. That's just Skinner should have just done that. Everyone gets one.
Fuck it.
Give them to everybody.
Yeah. That's
so the cartoon for me on this is something I don't go back and rewatch. But the first two movies I can watch pretty regularly. The third one's kind of one of those things. It's like every 4 or 5 years, maybe I'll throw it on if I'm in the mood just to kind of go through the first three. And then TMNT, the animated movie, that essentially kind of falls in line with that original Turtle series. Like they kind of have the same continuity there because Shredder's defeated and everything else. That was interesting. I enjoyed that one, but it's not my favorite, but it's rewatchable every now and again.
I'd like to watch it again and see how I feel now, but
yeah,
I always thought it was pretty decent for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw the Seth Rogen one, so
the Seth Rogen one I quite enjoyed. That was fun. They've got the animated series that's supposed to take place between the first movie and the second movie. So it's kind of a similar animation style, except it's not 3D animated. I think it's more of a traditional 2D. So they've converted those characters pretty well from what I've seen. I've started seeing the toys hit the store for the new look. But this first movie is just, there's nothing I would really change in there. I mean, you got to think Jim Henson helped with the Turtles costumes, designs, and animatronics, and like that.
Yeah.
They just looked so good. Like it is really hard not to appreciate that. Yeah, Jim Henson's Creature Shops. And it was one of Jim Henson's last projects before he died, which is wild.
That is wild. What did I... Oh. Little Shop of Horrors was directed... Is that directed by... Yes, directed by Frank Oz, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Frank Oz directed Little Shop of Horrors. He also did What About Bob? But Jim Henson's daughter had a cameo in it.
Oh, she did? Okay.
Yeah. And I hadn't realized before, but Christopher Guest is in Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, really?
He's the first guy to pop in and be like, what is that interesting plant? And it just doesn't look like him to me, but I realized it was him this time. And I also, not to be off topic and bring up Little Shop of Horrors, but every time I watch that movie, I fucking forget John Candy's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Wink Wickerson's Weird World! Or Weird Stuff, whatever it's fucking called.
I feel like Little Shop of Horrors is a movie I didn't see a lot growing up, but it feels like a movie I should have watched a lot more, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of in that wheelhouse of everything I loved. So the difference between Turtles and Turtles 2 is like the quality of the costumes went down significantly for Turtles 2. Like it still looked pretty decent. Toka and Razor looked pretty decent. Super Shredder looked pretty stupid, but looked really cool as a kid. But like in the movie, it just looks terrible. But yeah, Jim Henson died just a few months after this movie hit theaters. That's just so wild that he died. He was 53 when he died. I mean, that's insane.
Damn.
I mean, when you think about like his legacy and everything else, and having just seen Saturday Night where they kind of have like him in the movie supposed to be on the first episode there, kind of leading up into that. It's just fascinating to see that. and think about his legacy.
Yeah, he'd helped with that puppet segment, didn't he? That's in the
Mhm.
first episode.
Yep.
What are those, like dinosaurs or cavemen or some shit? I can't
Yeah.
remember. It's been a while since I've watched.
Yep. So what sticks out to you in this movie? The one thing that sticks out to me that I'd really always wanted is those drawings that April does in this movie. I feel like those should have been like in a box set or collector set, like on a high quality reproduction of those to like frame up, because those are just such amazing drawings.
Well, yeah, I'm surprised, honestly, like somebody hasn't done like a boutique release of Ninja Turtles, like a good one with that, like that kind of shit in it.
Yeah, it's probably ripe for one. Like with it being an anniversary year, you got to wonder, like, okay, what does that look like? Because I feel like we haven't seen much for that.
I don't know. Give it to Arrow Video or somebody.
Yeah, but Ninja Turtles is one of those brands that's like left very briefly. Like it's all like every time like a series kind of concludes, it's kind of like Batman to agree, right? When there's almost always something in production, and there's usually not a long time between that, so it never really like leaves the pop culture. It's just kind of a different iteration of it.
Well, between cartoons and everything, yeah, because they did that live action series too in the late 90s. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep, with the turtle Venus, the female turtle.
I said series, not Siri, you dumb bitch.
She does not care.
She said, I won't respond to that. Shut up. Get out of my life. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. Then they had another animated series in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. The early 2000s, now that was a pretty good series too. And there was a Turtles 2 PlayStation game that was a real fucking fun game. I used to play the shit out of that game because it was like a side-scrolling action game like the earlier Ninja Turtles games from the 90s, but it was on PS2, and that was a blast. Loved that game. I still have that one. So
nice. Yeah, I have the first Ninja Turtles on NES and Manhattan Project.
yeah, that's
Manhattan Project's on Super Nintendo, isn't it?
No, Manhattan Project's on NES. That was the last one on NES before they went to Turtles in Time was on.
Okay, I have that also still, I think.
That was on Super Nintendo. That was the first main title series game for that one. And then obviously all the other fighting games and different versions of that. So then they've released those game collections. And I mean, we don't talk a lot of Ninja Turtles on there, but I have very fond nostalgic ties to it. But it's just, since I don't collect for it, I don't talk about it enough,
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But watching this movie, I really enjoyed it. It's probably been 5 years now, probably around the 35th anniversary. Yeah, I would say it was around then. I went to one of the B&B theaters here in town and saw it on the big screen for the first time since I was a kid. Looks
Nice.
really good on there. I think that was a 35 millimeter copy, maybe, that they were showing for that.
I've never seen it in a theater for sure, so
it's one, if you get the chance, I highly recommend it because it just looks so good on the big screen.
yeah, I bet.
And then just the whole story, right? You got Danny in there, like kind of being this lost kid. Like he's a lost teenager, much like the Turtles. Like he kind of has this parallel story with Raph, where like those two have the most growth as characters in these movies, right? Because
Yeah.
Leonardo and Michelangelo and Donatello are pretty much the same characters start to finish. But Raph has the ability to grow in there, and then Danny. And then it's so weird that like they didn't bring
Danny's
him
an
back.
annoying little bitch, I think.
He is, but he's supposed to be the contrast to Raph,
Yeah.
like where they're kind of going through that intersection there. It was interesting they didn't bring him back for Turtles 2.
Danny?
Yeah.
Thank God they didn't.
Yeah, but they fucking brought in Keno and got rid of Casey Jones. Like they made some real fucking questionable moves there. So it seems like something they would have just done.
Hey, stop biting the phone carrot. Cats, man.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason they don't do it. Teenage Mutant Fighting Cats. There'd be too much butthole. He's like, I'm just going to knock this computer out of the way.
Pretty much.
Oh, there's the butt right there.
We're booping. Sorry.
That's all good. Yeah. So, do you remember watching this for the first time? Or is this one of those that you just don't ever have a clue about?
It's a joke, right? We shared a bedroom. You probably had this the minute. I don't know how old I was when we started sharing a bedroom. To be honest, probably the minute I came home. But like, there's some tapes that like never left. And those are like Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, Batman 89. Those three in particular are like, I've seen those movies more than any others. And I can actively remember watching them on our floor TV in the middle of the night. What felt like the middle of the night to me, but was probably just like 10 o'clock, like right after mom and dad went to bed or something.
Mm-hmm.
And how I would sneak upstairs to get us a soda to split, which
Oh, I would give you like a sip of and then drink the rest.
pretty much,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah. Brutal shit. But I remember Batman 89, Ghostbusters, and Ninja Turtles specifically, those three. And then
You don't remember
we-
Batman Returns? I felt like we watched that a lot.
I do. I don't remember watching it for the first time, but I feel like
Oh,
we watched
okay.
Batman 89 more than Returns.
Okay. Interesting.
Returns was there. Top Gun, I don't really remember watching either for the first time.
Oh, that was another note I was going to bring up when I was watching Turtles was so when Raphael's in the bathtub and they have that like somber, like nylon string acoustic guitar playing, it's very reminiscent of like Tom Cruise in his underwear, like in the sink shaving and like dealing with the fallout and death of Goose. It's like that same kind of vibe. It's like this down, depressed moment in the movie where you don't know like what your hero's going to do. We don't know if Raph's going to live.
I know what you're talking about from Top Gun. It's like the
Yeah.
down,
Yeah, and they're very
very
similar in tone and like performance. So like if you would compare those two side by side, it very much sets the tone. And so it's one of those weird things that like you watch these two things and you're like, does that reinforce why I like this movie? Because like Top Gun was one of the first VHS tapes I ever had, and Ghostbusters. We got a few of them, but they were so expensive that eventually like we started taping shit off a cable.
Yeah.
And then, in the 90s, VHS started becoming pretty affordable. So, we'd always get those around the holidays and birthdays and all that kind of stuff.
Darwin, come here. Not on the computer. Goof. Oh, damn. Darwin flashed his ass on the screen and Yoshi stuck his face right up in it. Like,
Yeah. Yep. 2 cats, 1 cup.
2 cats, 1 microphone right now.
Basically. So out of the original Turtles, when Turtles 3 came out, I remember I had a friend stay over that night. We went to see that in theaters, and then we rented the Chester Cheetah game for Super Nintendo. Yep.
Chester Cheetah. I think I've heard of that one.
So there's more than one of those. I've looked them up, but I was surprised because it's like a side scroller type Mario Sonic type game, and it was surprisingly really fucking fun for a Cheetos advertisement, basically.
You're making me realize I need to get the Alf NES game now.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't have that.
And it reminded me of Pepsi Man. You ever seen that game too, Pepsi Man?
No, but they used to do a ton of those. Didn't they have like the 7-Up Dot Guy game and stuff like that?
I think so.
Yeah, there's a lot of that marketing that used to just tie in because, you could just slap in your character design and make it a game around it, and it was easy then. Like nowadays, you'd really get fucking lambasted for doing that unless you did like a cheesy smartphone game. But some of those games actually held up and were pretty good. I was really surprised with how good that Chester Cheetah game was because like I played that until we had to take it back. So
that's surprising.
yeah. Couple-day rental. That was a pretty damn good weekend. We also had Pizza Hut Bigfoot Pizza, I think, was out at around the same time Ninja Turtles 3 was out. I have to look up the dates on that.
Yeah, I can't wait for December.
So that came out in 93.
I'm definitely going to have a screening of Home Alone, and I'm going to get some Little Caesars instead of Little Nero's.
Yeah.
That's what I'm waiting on. I really want some pizza now. This is bullshit. I think I have some pizza rolls in there, but
Yep. And so the Pizza Hut Bigfoot Pizza was sold from 1993 to the mid 90s. And so I feel like there's advertisements for that around the same time that Turtles 3 came out. So there's definitely overlap there. And so that's just one of those things where I just remember like, oh, okay. That was pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
It's fun looking back and having all those memories, but I really had a good time watching this movie tonight. It was just laid back, fun to watch. Nothing I would change about this movie. The music, fucking love the songs. Like, and ending songs to the movie, the song 9.95, like every time I hear that, it's such like an upbeat song. It just feels good. You're like, okay, it just feels like victory to me when I hear that song, because like the heroes won, the guy got the girl, the whole thing, like April got her job back, like everything's good there. So
death comes for us all, Orokusaki.
mhm.
But for you, oh shit, there he goes.
Yeah. So Paige Turco played April O'Neil in Ninja Turtles 2 and 3. Fascinating.
Actually, I think I have a copy of Ninja Turtles 2 I think I gave you, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because this one's in much better condition than I remember it being, so I must have got a minty looking one and gave you the other one, because the other one I found with this one, and this one's pretty beat up, as you can see.
Yeah, so the one you gave me,
although look at that tape.
Ooh, yeah.
That's for number 3. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the Turtles 2 copy you gave me, the slip cover's beat up a little bit, and I don't know if mine has the green tape on it. Interesting. I'll have to pull it out and look at it.
Yeah. Let me know.
Yeah, and then recently they've done some pretty nice vinyl releases of the original score, the Ninja Turtle score. I think Mondo did those. So,
nice.
Yeah, the score, not the soundtrack. Now, I think they've done some soundtrack stuff too, but I like having both of those because that score works so well. And every time I see Jason Takes Manhattan, the Friday the 13th feature, that's amazing. I just want to play the Ninja Turtles music when he's down in the sewers. I just really think that music should just be overplayed there, because that would make that movie so much better. And that's already a fun, silly movie.
Yeah.
But you put the Ninja Turtles music in there when he's in the sewer, fucking top notch.
I don't care who knows this, but this is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. I don't think it's the best, but it's my favorite.
It's fucking absurd in some of the best ways possible. And that's what makes it so well.
It's the first Friday the 13th I watched.
Oh, okay. So. Nice. Yeah. Interesting.
Did somebody just drop a load because it smells like cat poop now?
Oh, gross.
Gnarly.
I'm glad we don't have smell-o-vision yet. Otherwise, our viewers and myself would be pretty grossed out by that.
You know, it's just occurred to me.
What's that?
There's another ninja franchise I think we need to revisit.
Three Ninjas?
At least the first one. Crosses Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Home Alone, it even says on the front.
Mm-hmm.
Solid. I think I have 3 out of the 4 movies on VHS.
Oh, really? See, I think I only ever saw the first 2 because, like, they kept recasting the kids, you know?
Yeah.
But they had the same guy in there. The guy that played the grandpa, and that was fucking great. He was so good.
Some of these, you remember these slip? I don't know if you can tell, but this is one of those plastic slip covers like Hastings would have.
Oh yeah, I fucking love those, man. Those are so nice.
Got that on. Don't tell Mom the baby. That's how it came, so I didn't adjust it.
Yeah, I love those slip cases like that because as much as I love the iconic and classic look of the Blockbuster case, which actually was probably more protective of dust and everything else for the Dropbox return, like that was better because you could use the original box on there and have your other stuff. That is a Hastings copy, is that not?
Yeah, that's a Hastings logo.
Yeah, okay.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, love that place. Rip.
Rip indeed. I was in the parking lot picking up Taco Bell there the other day, like a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one in Lawrence, Kansas, like survived a lot longer than that. And even that one's gone now. I don't know if the whole company's gone or not. It's one of those places like I think there's like a couple of Suncoasts left around still. Like if you can look it up online, you can see there's only a handful of them. So
Yeah, there's FYE still around too. Not many, but
yeah.
although I've had luck at some of the other ones that are like vintage stock, Zia Records, stuff like that too. I like those.
The local chains are great. I think those work out really well because there's so much of this stuff that like just gets lost and trashed if you're not preserving it, right?
Even half price books, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, they're carrying a lot more VHS and cassette tapes and things they didn't for a while. You know, back when they started, they were doing vinyl, but now they're doing.
They price their VHS like shit for the most part. Like sometimes you can get some good stuff for $5 or less, but
oh yeah,
like if they think a tape's worth money, they're just going to charge $20 for it, and it's not worth $20. It's worth maybe 10, 15 tops. But
yeah, get on eBay and look at the sold for price,
or swap the sticker, do whatever.
Yeah, that too. Whatever you got to do. It's used. They didn't pay anything for it. You know what I mean? Like if you've ever sold there, and I've sold some shit there just to get rid of it instead of donating it. They basically give you fucking pennies to the dollar. Not even nickels to the dollar, but pennies to the dollar for any of that shit.
You'll leave them like a stack of shit, and for sure they'll be like, "So we can do $5 or like $6 store credit."
Yeah, we'll give you $7.50 store credit. So that's an extra 25% of your money. And you're like, oh god. Yeah. So Ninja Turtles, man, love that movie. Have many fond memories of watching that movie.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where we're at. We were hoping to cover Heretic, but hopefully we'll be able to cover that next week.
Yeah,
you get a chance to see it
this week.
And then, as we've been talking about, we're eventually going to do the Lord of the Rings movies, but we've got some other stuff to cover before we get to that. I think that'll be after the new year, probably.
After?
Yeah, maybe before. It depends on what we get in between now and then.
I personally will be watching and covering them on my channel beforehand, so I figured it would be good just because they'll be fresh. But there's a new movie coming out in December, so that's kind of my plan is to lead into that.
Well, I suppose we could probably do that. How long are the regular versions of these movies? 2.5, 3 hours each?
I think so.
Okay. Jesus Christ. It's going to take so much time to watch this.
Hold on. Let's see.
And I look at the casting, and I like the casting. And I think I've seen part of the first one.
558 minutes in its theatrical release. 683 in its extended.
When did the first one come out in the trilogy? What year did that come out?
2001, 2. What year was that? 2, maybe? No, 2001. December of 2001.
December of 2001. Okay. That would make sense because then I feel like I started watching that. We had a big screen TV in our living room, and I feel like I started watching that when I was back visiting after I'd moved out, maybe, and didn't finish it or something. I think that's maybe when I saw that.
I think that I was probably watching it in the living room on the VHS tape that I had.
Yeah.
And like you were there or something, like just like you came over and just saw part of it.
Yeah, I remember.
I vaguely remember that. I have a memory of watching it in the living room on that big square ass TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we always had those rear projector TVs. Had many models of those. Excuse me, I'm getting a little tuckered out here. So yeah, that's Ninja Turtles, man. That's nostalgia. That's memory lane, man. That's good stuff.
Indeed.
All right. Well, let us know which Turtles movie is your favorite, and let us know in the comments. Subscribe and like if you haven't already, and we'll see you back at it sooner than later. Probably next week. I'd imagine on Monday or Tuesday.
All right. Say goodbye to Yoshi's balls and butthole. Good night, everybody.